live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports. This is the LSU Postgame Show. The LSU Tigers prevail 53-48 over the Ole Miss Rebels. What a hell of a game. Look, I know during the entire game, I was getting absolutely obliterated in reference to this defense early and everything that happened on. We'll touch on everything. We will touch on everything. Marvin Mackey says it great here. He says, Blake, I can't breathe. My butthole puckered. I hear you. Johnson Tabuti, for years to come, says Mackenzie Hughes. Yes, indeed. Look, we're going to break this game down. You can call into the show. As always, you can call into the show 225-435-9387. That's 225-435-9387. We will take your phone calls about this game. What do you think? What did you see? And let's talk about it. I know that a lot of people is going to say Bo Pelini's got to go. It's going to be a hot topic. It's going to be an extremely hot topic as we progress throughout the show tonight. I know that, but let's take it from the start to the finish. Look, I know that we're going to talk about Bo Pelini a lot this offseason if, for whatever reason, he's not fired. Okay? I get that a lot of people want him to go. Look, I want to make this very clear because a lot of my texts are probably going to get misled a little bit. I don't know what you guys were seeing in the first half. You're going to give up points. You're going to give up touchdowns. You're going to give up points and give up touchdowns. Now, in the second half, I can't – as much as I've defended this defense, as much as I've come on this show and defended the defense, I can't do it anymore, y'all. Not in the second half, I can't. But listen, something that's huge and that we have to take into account here, LSU forced 6 turnovers, y'all. 5 interceptions in the forced fumble that sealed the game there at the end. Now, the future's bright. Now, let's take some of the positives away. Max Johnson had one hell of a game. Hell of a game. 27-51, 435 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception. He also had the 2 rushing touchdowns on the quarterback sneaks. But there's a lot of things that we have to take away from this. A lot of things that we have to talk about. Chris Curry could not get anything going. The running game could not get anything going. Your 2 starting running backs were out, and you had to rely on Josh Williams and Trey Bradford, the true freshman running back, and a walk-on. Guys, I mean, you want to talk about the running game can't get going, but your 2 best backs are out. Aaron Adams says, rare, I disagree with you, brother. Bo must go. Aaron, I get what you're saying. Look, let me make this very clear. Sorry. Let me make this clear. Look, I get it. I get that everybody is saying that Bo Pelini must go. But look, guys, you generated 6 turnovers, 5 in the first half. Now let's go drive by drive in the second half for this offense. Okay, because a lot of times, we see what happens on the defensive side of the football, but we have to take into account everything that happened. So coming into the second half, I should say. Coming into the second half, let's see what we got here. End of second. Okay, so LSU, interception. LSU right off the top, in the start of the second half, comes up with an interception. LSU goes down for 11 plays, 39 yards, and a field goal. You cannot only generate 17 points off of turnovers. You can't. Look, I don't care if Dave Aranda, I don't care whoever the best defensive coordinator is. When you force 7 or 6 turnovers and get 17 points, and by the way, 7 of those points come off a pick 6. Everybody was telling me on Twitter that, Blake, that's Bo Pelini. Jay Ward's touchdown, the first touchdown of the game, that's on Bo Pelini. But then Jay Ward, the very next drive, comes down and has a pick 6. All of a sudden, it's all Jay Ward, right? Like, it's nothing but Jay Ward. Bo Pelini had nothing to do with it. You cannot. Let me make this very clear. Very, very, very clear. You cannot say that it's against Bo Pelini when they score touchdowns, but not the 6 turnovers. Nick Wobble, what's up, buddy? He says, turnovers are nice, but when you're not capable of putting up a spy on the quarterback who's running all over, it's unacceptable. Bo has to go. Yeah, look, he did not make the adjustment. I thought the last drive of the second half, Bo Pelini called the best, sending blitzes, Guys were covered.
That goes whole 15 minutes.
Uh-oh. What's that? Oh, okay. It's an ad. We can't let that happen. Scared the shit out of me, though. The offensive play calling is so bad. Yeah, it is. Look, again. 11 plays, 39 yards. Okay, I'll give it to you. Touchdown. But then you had a punt, a 3-and-out in the second half, the second drive of the second half by LSU. 6 plays and then a field goal. Then LSU had an interception when they were driving down and Max Johnson threw his first interception. And then touchdown. They finally came down with a touchdown. Let me make this very, very clear. Kayshon Boutte, holy hell, right? Kayshon Boutte just busted out of, I don't want to say of nowhere, but have a game, young fella. Have a game. What a hell of a game. Let's get to some of these comments. Ryan Thibodeau says, Bo scheme works. It's poor execution. I think it's some scheme, and some of the fact that you don't have some of the players are giving up points. Now, here's a guy I was getting onto it with. Going Scotty, too. Scotty, the phone number's right there, brother. We can talk about it. 225-435-9387. Anybody's welcome to call on the show, and we'll talk about it. Let's see. Bundy says 6 turnovers in that offense. All right, here we go. We got a phone call. All right, you're on the line with Blake Ruffino and Are You Serious Sports. Who do we have the pleasure of talking to tonight? Hello. All right. You can call in 225-435-9387. Eric Wright says it's raining outside. Blame Bo. Hey, they were blaming me. Literally, there was people on Twitter blaming me for a touchdown given up by LSU. Okay, that's fine with me. Nick Guidry says Boutte's yak won the game. Yeah, he had a lot of yards after the catch. I don't remember how many times that kid got targeted, but I think it was 23 times Kayshon Boutte got targeted. And then you had 6, 3, that's 9, 11, 12, 13. 13 catches by other players. Kayshon Boutte had more catches than the entire team of LSU.
Hey, Rita, with 3%
God, why does it keep doing that?
Take out from Chase Freedom.
I don't know why it keeps doing that. I just have the stats pulled up. Jacoby Stevens has been checked out all year. You can tell by his body language. Yeah, and look, the second touchdown from Ole Miss in the second half, him and Dwight McGlothern got mossed. They double covered the outside receiver, and both of them got mossed. Guys, that's not scheme. You can say that's scheme all day, but when two guys are on one receiver and both of them can't come down with the football or bat it away, I mean, at some point we have to start pointing some fingers and saying, look, I'm not a guy that likes to call out players, but at some point we might have to. Let's see. Craig Schilling says, I'm just trying to adjust to Blake setting up on the other side of the camera, illegal shift. Well, see, it was always backwards, right? Like it was always backwards. So now you guys can see it frontwards. See, it's backwards for me, but it's not backwards for y'all. So there we go. Billy Wright says, Blake, do you think if we would have went to Max Johnson after Miles got hurt, we would have had a better record this season? Look, it's hard not to wonder. Look, I love TJ, but I think that the play calling was just as bad for TJ that we saw in the second half. Guys, again, you cannot convince me when you have 5 turnovers that you generated. Let's go back from the drive by drive. Okay, going back from drive to drive. You have a field goal, you have a punt, you have a field goal, another field goal, and then you have another punt, an interception. So 5 drives, you only generated 6 points in the second half. So interception, touchdown, that's 7. Interception, touchdown. I mean, look, I'm just sitting here looking at the play-by-plays on these drives, and I'm looking at all the interceptions, and I'm not seeing the points. Right there before the half, LSU in 3 plays gets another interception, the one by Jabril Cox, and then you kick a field goal in 4 plays. 4 plays, 3 yards, you kick a field goal. 4 plays, 3 yards. That's not acceptable. But we want to blame Bo, and I get it. Look, second half, I'm not going to defend the man. I am not going to defend Bo Pelini in the second half. I'm not going to do it. But at some point, we have to sit here and ask a simple question. If you get 6 turnovers, why are you not putting up points? Could you ever imagine this team last year getting 6 turnovers in a game, what it would have looked like? Now, I know that I'm not trying to compare last year to this year, but at some point, we have to come to just the simple fact of what happened tonight. All right, you can call in 225-435-9387. 225-435-9387. If you're just joining us for the first time, my name is Blake Ruffino, and this is Are You Serious Sports. This is an LSU postgame show. I'm not going to say the LSU postgame show, right? Because there's so many. God, why does it keep doing that? I don't understand why this ad just keeps doing that. I don't want that. Let's get to some more of these comments. Nick Gidders said, that's a fancy hat. I appreciate it. Tracy says, Bama better beat the brakes off of Florida. I'm sure that they will. Jason Sheridan said, Johnson hit them on the hands with balls, and they've dropped a lot of passes that still needs to be addressed in the offense. Yeah, all offseason, that's got to be addressed. Trey Palmer had a couple. Jontre Kirkland had a couple along the sidelines that he dropped that would have been first downs. Yeah, there were a lot of drop passes. But look, at the same time, you're going to tell me that they couldn't run the football. And look, especially still with your two best running backs out, your 2 starting running backs out, you went to a walk-on and Josh Williams who got you 12 carries for 55 yards. A true freshman, Trey Bradford, 9 carries, 53 yards. Chris Curry, I've been hearing everybody tell me Chris Curry, 5 carries, 8 yards. He couldn't get anything going, and they went to the younger guys, and it definitely prevailed. So I'm glad to see that. I thought it was good. Looking at the team stats, okay, LSU did have 593 yards of offense, 435 through the air, 158 on the ground. Let's see. We got a phone call calling in here. Colin Thibodeau is on the line with Blake Ruffino and Are You Serious Sports. Colin, what's going on tonight?
Oh, dude, not much. Look, just enjoying the rain and Ole Miss having to drive home in it. And that's what matters to me. Because, more than anybody else LSU ever asked to place, I was born and bred to know that Ole Miss is the biggest rival we have, no matter what you think. And I love when we beat Ole Miss. I
think LSU fans would argue Alabama, but I'm with you there. I'm with you. Let's go here. Thoughts on Bo Pelini and the defense for tonight's game?
You and me talked about it during the game. Bo's done enough the last few games with that. I'm willing to give Bo another shot with hopefully a full off season with players he's recruited, with guys having a chance to understand his scheme. The mistakes in the plays that kept Ole Miss in this game tonight, and even kept Florida, some of those things can be corrected with a full off season.
I agree.
And so I'm willing. Now, I'm like you. It's kind of hard to justify anything for Bo in the second half because that was just bad. But at the same time, not all of it's on Bo. If guys are checked out, look, I've played sports all my life. So have you. Hey, sometimes it sucks playing in the rain. And sometimes it's hard when you have a little guy like Matt Corral, running around and you have to try and get a grip on him. But at the same time, it's coming. Load the box up. Make him beat you with his arm, which up until that point in the second half, he had failed to do that tonight. It's 5 interceptions in the first half.
Yeah, 5 interceptions, and you only generate 17 points. That's just not acceptable. Colin, thought about this offense, Max Johnson, Kayshon Boutte. Every time Max Johnson went back to pass in the second half, he was going to Kayshon. I mean, this kid's the next breakout star for LSU, right? I mean, there's no denying it now.
No, there's no denying. Look, Kayshon is about 30 minutes up the road from me in New Iberia, and you got a boy, repping the 337, being mentioned up there with Chase and Josh Reed. I mean, this guy's got his name etched next to Josh Reed right now in SEC and LSU record book on one night. He is the next big thing, and I think if certain changes are made with some of this talent, especially wide receivers, the wide receiver room and the quarterback room next year coming in are just going to be absolutely filthy. And if you get the right personnel to coach these guys in there, and I tweeted that out during the game, these wide receivers need to go work on the sum of 20,000 catches, because a lot of them did hit them in the breadbasket, and you have to hold on to that. This game's a lot different if they hold on to some of these passes.
I agree.
That Max tossed to him. But it's the talent's there. It just has to be brought out the right way.
I agree. Thanks for calling in, Colin. I know you'll be in the comments, man, and we appreciate you joining the show.
All right, Bob.
All right, brother. Hunter Thibodeau says the first half he had an argument, but he made me look stupid by having his back with the performance in the second half, and for that he's got to go. That second half was awful. I feel, look, this is going to be the discussion all offseason. Before we get to any more of this, everybody joining the show, I see a lot more people joining the show. Do us a favor, hit the like and hit the share. This is the AYS Postgame Show. Mackenzie Hughes says, Kirkland been dropping a lot lately. Yeah, he has. And why he hasn't been seeing the field. He had 2 huge drops there in the second half that should have been first downs. Tracy says, did y'all see when Lane Kiffin telling one of his players to go down? Tracy, I saw that. That's Bush League. That's also a penalty. Look, I love Lane to death. I think he's the best play caller in all of college football offensively. But that's just BS. That's Bush League. You can't let that happen. And the referee standing right next to him, and you have 2 coaches. Did y'all see the coach standing next to Lane saying, get down, and then they're going to test him for an ACL? Trash. Billy Wright says, we need our whole team back next season to have the same fight that Booty has. Yeah, he played with a lot of fight. Look, over 23 targets, 14 catches, had more catches than the entire rest of the team. I mean, that's impressive. It's impressive. Max Johnson put on a hell of a performance. I still think that, look, LSU not having their 2 best running backs offensively hurt them. They were getting pushed, and your running backs weren't able to break some tackles. They were able to do it in the second half, though. They were able to get this running game going in the second half. Josh Williams busted that long 30-yard run in the second half, kind of busted some things open. That was huge. Joseph said, glad we got Bradford. All those snaps have to show the players it's always an open competition in a year like this. Well, not just that, Joseph, but, I mean, he played out of necessity, not because they wanted him to get snaps. I mean, he had to play. Palmer, I don't know how to say it. There is no rivalry with Alabama because we can't beat Alabama. Well, you beat Alabama last year. I mean, everybody says that Ohio State and Michigan's the biggest rivalry in the game, and they lose every single season. Just because you're losing doesn't mean it's not a rivalry. I hate that argument. They should have given Devontae Lee a shot or shit, as my mom would say. Right here, literally, that's what she's saying. McKenzie, absolutely can't wait to see our D-line next year. Yeah, they're going to be fantastic. Look, and they were sending it forward, couldn't get pressure, and there in the second half at the end, they were getting some pressure. They were definitely getting some pressure. Oh, let do it. Hashtag 337 Booty, says Reginald Cormier. Yes, sir. Look, he played fantastic. I honestly thought more of you would be bashing on Bo Pelini, honestly. I thought this was going to be a Bo Pelini bash show. It's okay that it's not. I just really thought it was going to be a Bo Pelini bash show. Dakota says there was so many holding calls they missed also. Yeah, Dakota, that's a good point. That's a really, really good point. So many holding calls missed. I remember the one in the beginning of the second half. Allie Gay was literally throwing his hands up in front of the referee saying, dude, I'm being held. Remember when he was grabbing on to Matt Corral and Matt Corral got away from him and he's like legitimately being held? They were not throwing the flags on Ole Miss in the second half. Lane definitely gave them some cash at half. Jim Stringfield, what's up, Jim? He says Bootsy's yak yardage was the biggest difference in the passing game. Yeah, he got a lot of yards after completion, yards after catch. Definitely. Tracy says it is a penalty, but the official did not do jack crap. It was trash. I agree there. You can't let that happen. You cannot let that happen. Surprised more holding penalties weren't thrown on that Ole Miss O-line. Saw holding all night. Yeah, there was a lot of holding all night long. A lot of holding. I can't defend, or I don't know what happened there. Brandy Blake, a big Ole Miss fan. Good game, my man. Good game. She says, Tracy, officiating was piss poor all around. I'll give you that. It was piss poor all around. There were some things I saw that LSU got away with. LSU got away with some things, but not as much as the holding on the defensive line for LSU, though. I mean, that was pretty bad. Eric Wright says, Roy going to be a monster. Yeah, he is. He absolutely is. Blake Press says, man, not to look at in the past, but you start Max against A&M, you win that game. There's a good possibility. A very, very good possibility you win that game. And look, if you're 3-1 in the last 4 games, your only loss is that the best team in the country, I'm okay with that. Is with this team, I'm okay with that. But look, I'm going to continue to get hammered all season. I don't know if Bo's going to get fired. I know that they're going to talk tomorrow, but I don't think he's going to get – I don't know. We'll find out. Sources will let us know if Bo Pelini is going to be out or not. But I'm in the minority, and it's okay that I'm in the minority, in my opinion. I think Bo should come back for another year. Look, you give him another year, he does trash. Okay, then. All right. But you have 25 kids that are going to be coming into this team, and you're going to have more. Guys, they played with 55 people tonight. The best defensive player for LSU did not even play. Nick Weibel, old high school, what do you call that? A guy I went to school with. I'll just say that. He says, to add to Bo's criticism, there's absolutely no rotation on the front 7. We have depth there, and guys were gassed in the whole second half. Yeah, but I'm not going to blame that on Bo either. Look, the defensive line rotation. Look, Ed Orgeron came out 2 weeks ago and said that the D-line rotation is on him. Okay, we're literally taking Ed Orgeron's words and putting into what I just said. So then, I mean, you got to put that a little bit on O then. And depth where? I mean, because Eric Taylor's battling injury, Tank Guillory's battling injury. I get what you're trying to say there, Nick. I really do. But you're definitely going to have – Nick, here's the great thing about all this, Nick. The great thing about all of this. You have 5 defensive linemen coming into this class this upcoming season. 3 of them that I think can play right off the start or definitely get reps. Surely get reps. So I'm with you there. I'm with you to an extent. But before we put that on Bo, I mean, Ed Orgeron said it in the press conference last week. Blake Quibido says, need a nasty, tough O-line, and it will be on next year. I agree with that. You're on live with Blake Ruffino and Are You Serious Sports. Who do we have the pleasure of talking to tonight?
Hey, Blakey, this is Alex.
Alex, what's going on, man?
Oh, man, I'm going to be in Washington Parish this weekend. See if you and Tyler want to get some beers or something.
I will not be in Washington Parish. It's going to be a long week. We have a Christmas thing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with all of our families. Yeah. So it's going to be tough. But I'll try. What'd you think of the game tonight, my friend?
Well, I thought it was good. That's why I was calling. I mean, there was, as you say, some Rudy Poo moments, but I can't concentrate on everything, but if you do concentrate on the defense, it was rough. I guess my question is to you. Do you remember what defense they were running last year before Pelini came in?
Yeah, it's a 3-4 base scheme.
So this really wasn't a 4-3. I mean, it looked like he started with the 4-3 this year. It looked like it morphed into something else. It looks like the secondaries were, to me, on man-to-man, were too close. They still have Evans in there. I'm not taking away from Evans. He did a good job. The guy came in 3 weeks before the season started, so I can't bash him. But and you're losing a bunch of guys too. So Logan's going to be gone. Evans will be gone. I'm looking at Jacoby's going to be gone. So what do we do if you keep Bo Pelini? What do we do in the spring and the summer to progress better than what we did this year?
Well, you didn't have an offseason this year. I think that's the point, right? Like, You had all the
we had talked about that.
I mean, you had all the departures. You had no real offseason. You can't do half the things that you can even do last year in practice, which nobody really understands or talks about. And so we're blaming a lot of this on Bo. Hey,
Right.
here's the only question I'm going to ask you, Alex. Name a starter from last year's defense, or name the starters on last year's defense that are on this team right now.
Glenn Logan.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, because Stevens a transfer.
Well, Jacoby Stevens played. Jacoby Stevens played last year, but everybody else. Derek Stingley didn't play in the last 2 games. So this is you have 6 true freshmen that were playing, or freshmen that were playing on the defense tonight, and I think that they gave a really good effort. Let's move over to the.
And you have some people coming up too. You mentioned Devontae Lee. You have some really good people coming up for 2021 who will be able to fill those shoes, I think.
Yeah, they do. They definitely have a lot of good people coming up. They have a lot of talent coming in. I'm in the minority. I'm going to continue to get ripped all off season. Look, if he does a bad job next season, I'm okay with that. Well, let me back up. I'm not okay with that. I'm okay with giving him the shot, right? Like that, you just can't base off of this.
I agree, and I put this in the comments earlier. Let's rebuild with the same staff from this year, and let's go into. Yeah, you're going to disagree, and I'm going to get hit a lot with that. But let's rebuild with the same staff, and let's go into spring and summer, and let's learn from our mistakes and our successes, and see what happens. And if we're in the same position, I'm going to be with the Rudy Poos and everybody else. But I think we can rebuild on this, as much as everybody's going to disagree with that.
I agree. Alex, thank you for calling in, my friend. We'll talk soon, and let me know.
See you soon, man.
All right,
have a good Christmas.
All right, you too. Bye. Michael Ray has a good question. Was that a 3-4 at the end of the game? It was a 3-4 base scheme. It was a 3-4 base scheme at the end. However, before we get there, Bo Pelini was sent in the house. All right, you're on the line with Blake Ruffino at Are You Serious Sports. This is the LSU Postgame Show. Who do we have the pleasure of talking to tonight?
Blake Ruffino, long time no see. It's Nick Weibel.
Nick Weibel, what's up, my man? First off, thank you for your service. I appreciate everything you do for us. What's going on, my friend? How we doing tonight?
Man, it was a good end of the game, but I was about to throw my Corona there in the third quarter. Bo has really got me. I was about to throw my Corona right at the TV, man. I was getting pretty pissed off there for a minute.
I'm with you, Nick. So let's break this down then. Okay, so you have 6 turnovers. Nick, have you ever? I know that you've been to one of these games because it happened in Franklinton against Hammond. But have you ever been to a game where 6 turnovers had happened and that you almost lost? So I guess my question to you, Nick, would be: look. You had the 6 turnovers. It was right there at the end. How do you get that many turnovers and say this defense is horrible, though? I guess that's the question I'm trying to ask fans.
Yeah, I know, man. It's a weird game. There was a lot of quick possessions by the offense that you thought they were going to keep going. They just died so quickly. Obviously, that's got to get better. But at the same time, how do you let a quarterback run over 100 yards on you in one half and not even have the wherewithal to put a eye on him?
I don't know.
That is basic coaching, man. I was in band, all right? And I know football better than Bo Pelini at this point. It is ridiculous what I'm seeing from Bo at this point of the season, all right? I get the youth. I get all the players he lost. I get all that. But the adjustments that he makes or he doesn't make just makes no sense to me. I can't fathom it.
I think 2 things, Nick. Number one, I don't know if that defense or even stay with me here, but even the comprehension of doing that is even in this wherewithal with this defense. I mean, in the sense of that, look, we've seen Derek Stingley be out of position on man-to-man coverage on Devontae Smith 3 weeks ago. How is that on Bo Pelini? This kid has played so much defense and so much football, and his dad's a coach. At some point, I kind of feel like we have to look at the players in this aspect too. However, I'm with you. Not making the adjustments. I thought the last drive there, Nick, at the end was even better than what we saw all in the second half, right?
So yeah, I'm glad you brought up that last drive because I want to point something out in that last drive. Everybody was talking about how great the defense came through. If Coral, or what I like to call him Bobby Boucher's quarterback because he looks just like that dude, if he doesn't fumble the ball, then who knows what's going to happen, right? All right. So what I want to say about that play in particular and the play before that is LSU kept rushing the edge on this quarterback, and the whole time he was looking at the gap in between the seams of the field to take off down the field, right? And he doesn't put a spy on him. So he dropped 3, and he had like one of the ends was going to spy him, but he rushed the one that he dropped, right? So there was 3 on the line. The end was playing in the middle along with the linebacker. I think it was Cox. Maybe it was Clark. But instead of dropping one of the ends or the linebacker just to watch Coral, they rushed all 5. Coral slips through the middle and starts taking off down the field, which he'd been doing the whole second half. So I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, the adjustments that Bo Pelini hasn't made is just not good enough for me. He's got to go.
Nick, let me ask you this question. Did you watch the LSU Ole Miss game last season?
Yeah, hell yeah, man. I watch every game.
Okay. So if you watch the game, how do we justify Dave Aranda from last season to this season with Bo Pelini?
That was terrible too, man. I mean,
so okay, so it was terrible, right? So it was terrible.
Yeah.
So we can come to the realization that it was terrible. So how's that all on Bo?
But I will say this though. I think last year's was more of a they spread out their wide receivers. They really attacked the coverage a lot. And if you throw to anybody in man coverage that's not named singly on our defense last year, even Fulton, he got burnt a lot. You were pretty much going to be successful. And yeah,
so again, when all these when you have players and stars opt out, you have 5 true freshmen of the 6 DBs that are playing are all underclassmen. I guess my question is, Nick, why do we not give them a second chance? Right? Like, so if you have 6 true freshmen playing and you're going to say, hey, don't give them a second chance. But then last year it happened the same thing against Dave Aranda when 6 guys who are starting in the NFL outside of Grant Delpit who's injured. Then what?
Yeah. No, you're right. And, it's funny. A lot of people were happy to see Dave Aranda go, but and including myself, right. I was happy to see him go. I was looking forward to small 4-3 defense, back to that attacking style. But, there were some things that I don't remember from 2000 and when's the last time Bo was coordinator? 7, 6? It's been a while, right?
Yep,
so
since 2007.
I didn't really remember, all of his styles, and I didn't remember him not being able to adjust because he didn't
have to. Here's the crazy thing, Nick. He didn't have to because he had the players, right? I mean, like, we know that. Nick, we have a couple more phone calls coming in, man. Look, hit me up, and if I don't talk to you, man, have a great Christmas, brother.
All right, man. Merry Christmas. Say hello to your family for me. Bye.
Will do, man. I saw a couple questions here. Dakota Hopper says, #Ask Blake. Do us a favor, everybody. Hit the like and the share if you haven't done so already. Please do that for us. Hit the like and hit the share to all the platforms. #Ask Blake. Who all would you want to come back? Dakota, on what part? Players or coaches? Because I think you need an offensive overhaul more than anything. Look, you scored again. Guys, before 5 minutes in the second half, 5 minutes in the fourth quarter in the second half, you had 3 points by this offense. 3. And you're going to blame the defense. Come, be a little realistic here. Derek says, Blake, the problem is that it's not just against Ole Miss this year. I get that. 8 turnovers. No, now it's more. 9 turnovers. 9 turnovers in the last 8 quarters. Derek, that's a turnover a quarter. Here's my thing with all this. You don't, and look, I'm not even going to quote myself. Ask Bill Parcells. Ask any great defensive mind that's ever coached college football. Ask Bill Belichick. The number one thing is turnovers. You don't have good scheme. If you generate turnovers, that means the scheme is just as good as some of the players that you have on field. And quite honestly, I think you still need game experience. This team has been inconsistent all year long, y'all. All year long, this team has been inconsistent. Look, I'm going to be the Bo Pelini homer, and I get it. And look, next year, I might be proven wrong. I might be coming on this show on AYS and say, you know what, guys? We should have fired him. Or we're going to come here and I'm going to say, look, guys, it was great to retain him. Either two things are going to happen here. It's not going to be one or the other. It's going to be one or the other. I promise you that. What's up, my man? He says, last year we had Delpit playing injured who should not have been on the field against Ole Miss. Yeah, but he was. I don't make excuse. If you're on the field, you're on the field. Then pulling. But last year, Ole Miss torched your ass. Okay, Dave Aranda was still here. Everybody wanted Dave Aranda to leave. We pushed Dave Aranda out of the door. All right, let's get to a couple more of these. Of this. Michael Ray says, "Ask Blake." So, offensive coordinator options. There's a lot out there. I think Russ Callaway will probably get promoted to passing game coordinator. If I had to assume, and then they'll go get an offensive coordinator. That's if I had to assume. That's what they're going to do. No real sourcing on that. Hunter says you have to get touchdowns at the end of the half and first drive of the third quarter. Hunter, I completely agree with you there. Let's look at what happened in the beginning of the second half or the end of the. You're right. So that's a 11-point swing that you had there. LSU ran 4 plays, got 3 yards, and kicked a field goal. 34-21. At the beginning of the second half, LSU came out, 3 plays. They had an interception, the one by Jabril Cox. They go down 11 plays and kick a field goal, 6 points. Ole Miss goes down and gets a touchdown. LSU goes 3 plays, 3 and out, a punt. Ole Miss comes back with a touchdown. LSU drives all the way down the field, interception. Okay, so you have all of this time, all of these turnovers, the end of the half, all of these, everything that's going on, and you generate 6 points off of 2 field goals. You ran 7 plays in 10 minutes of football. 7. Okay. So if 10 minutes of football and your offense runs 7 plays, we're going to put all this on the defense? Now, the defense has to get better. Let me make this very clear. And I said it in the beginning of the show. I'm going to keep saying it. There are things that the defense has to get better at, right? Like I'm not saying that they're phenomenal. I'm not saying that they play fantastic. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying at some point you have to score points here to give your struggling defense and a defense that's not experienced time off of the field. And I know that's not I know that that's not
Our new house is amazing.
There is a bit of an issue with
I thought we had a little man, the little man running in here. The little man was running in here. All right, getting to a question on Twitter. Kofek says, Blake, I think that you could be right. Look at LSU's third down conversion rate. Okay, so let's look at LSU's third down conversion rate. Let's see what Ole Miss did on third down. Guys, LSU was 5 of 18 on third down. Ole Miss went 5 of 12 on third down. Less than 50%. LSU went well less than 50% on third down. Now, they got it back on the fourth down conversions with the quarterback sneaks from Max Johnson, but you can't go 5 of 18 on third down. That's not going to cut it. If you can't stay on the football field and you go 5 of 18, if you can't even come close to 50%, and you still score 53 points, come on, man. Gilbert, a freshman, he can't go to the draft. Yeah. Craig Granger, how y'all living? Good, Craig. Glad that we have a win. Got some AYS bourbon up in this glass. So we're feeling okay. Not good if LSU would have lost. I still wouldn't have said Blaine Smith that LSU should have fired Bo Pelini. Talking liver spot old. That says Michael Ray. Michael, what you talking about? All right, guys, you can't call into the show. We're going to probably call it a little bit short here as it is the holiday season. For the last AYS LSU football post-game show. Doug Marrone, no. No. Doug Marrone's not going to be an offensive coordinator at LSU. If Ed Orgeron goes and gets Doug Marrone, Ed Orgeron should be fired. If Doug Marrone's your next offensive coordinator at LSU, he needs to be fired. Hunter says, mad props to the O-line. Max had all day to throw the ball. Hunter, great point. Fantastic point. I don't remember a time that Max got sacked. And here's another thing. And I've been beating this over the head, Hunter, for the last couple of weeks. And everybody's kind of been getting on my ass about it, which is fine. Excuse me. Everybody's been getting on my ass about it, Hunter. But LSU ran the ball for 158 yards. Now, Ole Miss ran it for 307. You can't have that happen. You can't have that happen. You can't let the opposing team's offense run for 307 yards against you. That's got to stop. And I think that stops when you get better defensive line play in here. But look, they ran the ball effectively. And again, guys, a walk-on had more rushes from running backs than anybody on your team. Incredible. What would have happened if Ty Davis-Price and John Emery would have played tonight? It would have been something different, I think. Well, I don't even think there. I know it would have been different. Let's see what we got here. Alex King says, great shows this year, Blake. Now it's time for some LSU basketball. Good hard work this year. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll be doing some basketball stuff. We'll definitely be doing some LSU baseball stuff with Zach Pearson. I think we might have on Alex Lang, former LSU pitcher, first-round overall pick. I think that he will be on the show too. Blaine says 307, ? But we keep Bo, ? Come on, Blake. Yeah, that can't happen, Blaine. That can't happen. That can't look. There's not an excuse for that. I'm not going to make an excuse, but I still want the man to have a true all season. But Blaine, here's another thing. Here's what I want to know from everybody watching this. Everybody watching this. Everybody listening to the podcast. Everybody that's going to listen to the postgame show tomorrow morning. You have 6 turnovers. Like, at what point do we give this defense a little bit of credit? Again, you can't have 307 rushing yards and think that's okay. You can't. Phil Tittle. What's up, Phil? Phil always comes with some stuff. Meaning good stuff, not bad. Don't forget we had a freshman quarterback that was only starting his second game and all the receivers were backups. Well, Kayshon Boutte's not a backup. From the start of the season, you also had a lot of drops by the receivers. That isn't on the coaches. Also, 2 best running backs were out. I agree. The best corner in college football was out too. You can't stay on the field, but you got to call it what it is. You got to call it what it is. Look, keep. We said this all week. I should have said this from the beginning. We said this all week. Keep their offense off the field. Run the football. Oh, Blake, you can't run the football. Okay. 158 rushing yards. Yes, you can. the shit you can't. Who would get in to replace Bo, says Cookie Helen Tajon. There's somebody out there. It's LSU. If they wanted to get somebody, they could go get somebody. One hell of an offensive line coach, says Rodney Jordan. Notice the pocket without Hines. Look, Cam Wire's a beast. I thought Chase Hines did have his best game last week, though. I thought he had his best games, but yeah, the pocket was great for LSU tonight. Fantastic. Michael Ray, nothing against Hines, but he's a 4-3 defensive lineman. Yeah, he came in, Michael, as a defensive lineman. He came in as that. I still think Joseph Evans is playing out of position. I think he could be a backup center. I think that they'll figure this offensive line out. I really do. Joshua says, I'm optimistic for the future for next season. Opt-out injuries, people leaving for the draft. The fight within the players is evident. The coaching needs to improve desperately. My opinion, they need to do an offensive overhaul, coaching-wise. I mean, there just wasn't I know that we're going to say there's a lot of freshmen on the field, and I'm with you there. Putting up that many points with freshmen is really good. Kayshon Boutte having 14 catches, 300 yards, impressive. I'm also going to say I'm also going to say you stuck with Miles Brennan with JT Daniels was out there. And now he's at Georgia just absolutely killing it. So there is some blame to go around there too. All right, we have a phone call here. You're on live with Blake Ruffino and AYS. Who do we have the pleasure of talking to tonight?
What it is, y'all? Bro, it's Craig over here in Lafayette, Louisiana, bro. How y'all living?
We're living good, Craig. What's going on, bro? Hey, just remember.
How about the Tigers, bro?
Yeah, I love it, man. Hey, just remember, it's PG-13, not rated X. Okay, what's up, Craig?
I understand. Yeah, I got you. I just thought he looks good, man. I thought I wanted to say, like, Bo Pelini's, like, y'all want to hate on Bo Pelini's defense and everything like that. But, I mean, we're switching from a 3-4 to a 4-3. So it's kind of, you know, and them boys showed up, in my opinion. I mean, we gave them a lot of yards, but, I mean, we're going against one of an air raid offense. So I thought they did really well. And it's all true freshmen.
Craig, Craig, at some point we got to give this defense some credit for the 6 turnovers, right? Like, look, they gave up a lot of yards. I get that. But 6 turnovers is impressive, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And they still showed up. I mean, and they made the stops when they needed to at the end. You know what I mean? So
they did.
You know, so I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them boys, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Craig, what would you do in the offseason? What would you change? What would you do if you're Ed Orgeron? How would you fix some of the stuff?
We need to work on special teams. In my opinion, that's one of the things that I saw, like the kicking game. Not the kicking game like Cade York and, you know, obviously the punter, Von Rosenberg, but just absolutely, I need somebody to be able to have a new kick returner or a punt returner, because I mean I thought that was a turning point in the game at some point. You know, I mean, getting stuck back there and making the wrong calls.
Mm-hmm. Craig, I agree, man. I mean, I agree. There's some things they need to do special teams wise. There's things they need to do offense wise. Let me ask you this: do you think the future is bright for LSU? Don't you?
What's that now?
You believe that the future for LSU is bright with all these freshmen that we've seen play this year, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely is bright. And I mean, the recruiting class, I don't know how he did it. He's pulling it off. But
cars and money, big dog. The bag man came out there to your neck of the woods and started handing out cash from what I hear.
He ain't never lying, bro. Look, kid, he had a kid's country out here, baby. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Craig, last question, man. I thank you for calling in. Bo Pelini, should he stay or should he go?
Oh, he's got to stay, dude. He's got to stay. That's my dude, bro. I've been riding with him since day one. I think the defense is just going to be absolutely amazing this coming up year and in the coming years.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks, Craig, for calling in, man. And I appreciate you always supporting me and everything we do with AYS, man.
All day, baby. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Bro, don't joke like we don't need more infractions. Any more infractions. What am I missing? Oh, yeah. Nick, come on, bro. You know you know that's happening. I mean, I will tell y'all this. There is some good news since this is the last post-game show of the season. This won't be the only – I won't be the only person on the post-game show moving forward. Oh, who will we have? We'll be announcing some stuff. All right, let's get to some of these comments. Guys, I'd love for you to call in. Let's talk about it. The phone number is right there, 225-435-9387, 225-435-9387. Craig Schilling says, Jabril Cox, this is a comment. They should see it's a promising future, especially on defense. It's like I've been saying all year, Bo Pelini's scheme works. It just takes guys to come together and work on it. You gonna disagree with you gonna disagree with Jabril Cox? A guy inside that building? Our boy in the zone. Yeah, he was in the zone. He was definitely in the zone. My boy Craig was feeling good. Kyle Lofton says, drops. New DC, more O-line experience and wide receiver work will print this team to another level. We'll probably make this team to another level. Yeah, I agree. Alex, no kid can leave for the league after 1 year. He'll get killed up there. He may leave LSU, but no way he bolts for the NFL. Who y'all talking about up in this thing? Who y'all talking about leaving? There are a couple kids that can go. Jabril Cox can go. Jabril Cox can definitely go. He's an NFL guy. Whew. Okay. Josh came with a novel. He says, I started following last week after the Florida win. It is a coincidence that we're 2-0 after I started following Are You Serious Sports. Hell no, it's not a coincidence, Josh. I appreciate that. He says, I think not. Being overseas for the past 4 years, I've been ready to go out in the Army and be stateside watching the games at a reasonable time. I'll be following and listening to you from here on out. Shout out to you, brother. Keep up the good work. And go Tigers. Well, first off, Josh, thank you for your service. I appreciate you for your service. Thank you for everything you do for our country. At Are You Serious Sports, says Alex, talking about Eric Gilbert, Blake. I don't know if he's coming back or not. But if he don't want to be here, he doesn't want to be here. He's a good talent, but if he don't want to be here, see ya. Michael Ray says we need to run multiple D. Let me stop right there. I agree with you. What he did on that last drive from Bo Pelini, I'm not going to get over the entire offseason. He's got to keep bringing that shit, right? Like, he's got to keep bringing the pressure. Why he has not brought more pressure, I think it's because of the explosive plays that LSU's given up. But shit, you're already giving them up, right? Like, you're already giving up the explosive plays. If there's one thing that I'm going to be not upset, but be aggravated with Bo Pelini about, send the house. If that is your defense and sending the house, send it. You're giving up the explosive plays any damn way. Dakota says, what players do you see players do you want to come back? I want all of them to come back. But I don't think Jacoby Stevens isn't coming back. I'm pretty sure Jabril Cox won't come back. I think the entire offensive line should come back, and I think everybody else should. Probably Jabril Cox, Austin Deculus, and Jacoby Stevens are the only players that should leave. There's not anybody else that should leave. Blaine says, ask Blake, way too early prediction for next year's record. Oh, God. Uh-oh. I'm getting back to that. Damn, the Gators answered 7-7. Yeah, we got to get to that. Especially when we hit 60 minutes, I'm out this thing. I don't know, Blaine. I don't know. I don't even want to answer that. Stephen Miller going to co-host the postgame show in-house. Just need a second camera. He's more than welcome. Damn, the Gators answered. Everybody's talking about it. I might need to get on out of here. Tony getting it in on that Alabama defense, says Blake Quibido. You know what? I think this is a good way. We'll get to one last question. Do you think Allie Gay will be back? Yes, Nick, I do. LSU has a track record of losing guys that way too early. No, I think he'll be back. I more than know that he'll probably be back. All right, guys. Thank you for everything we've done this season. It's been 10 awesome post-game shows. We will probably try to come back as much as we can next week. I know it's Christmas week. We have a lot of going on in the Ruffino household. So let me answer this right quick. Any chance we bring back Joe Brady as offensive coordinator? No. They ain't going to pay him what he wants. But I appreciate everybody for what y'all have done for us in the during the season, the post-game show. There's been a lot of views, a lot of interaction, a lot of comments, and I appreciate all of y'all for that. All right, we will see y'all again Monday, hopefully. We will see you then. Y'all have a good night, and we'll go watch the SEC championship game. Peace out, guys. We'll see you soon.